Hello, my name is Paul Barnett, the host of the Great Coaches podcast, and I'm here at the Sydney Cricket Ground in Australia, and today I'm going to be doing a video on communicating with impact. And to do that, I'm going to share video from the more than 200 great coaches that we've interviewed on the podcast. Leadership and communication are indispensable to each other, and great coaches are master communicators. I've identified 3 things that great coaches continually do to maximise the impact of their communication. The first thing that drives the impact of their communication is the content of the message that they are delivering. And when it comes to content, there are 4 key building blocks that make it impactful. The first of those is simplicity. Here is the English Premier League coach, Sean Dyche, talking about simplicity and how he uses it in his communication.
Simplicity is still really important. Keep your dialogues in. It's really difficult because most coaches in any field have got countless amounts of energy, of words and thoughts going through their mind. And to strip that back and come up with key moments and key phrases or key lines. So simplicity is something, I don't think I've nicked it, but it gets overlooked, I would say, especially in the modern, if I just use football as an example, then you can get trapped in this modern thing where you've got to be talking in these weird and wonderful ways and you've got to be sharing all the information using trendy words. And sometimes you've got to strip all that out and go, whoa, what do the players need? What do they need to know?
The second is stories. And these allow you to cut through the logic and the emotion of what people may be experiencing to connect with them on a deeper level. And this becomes really important when you have to give feedback later on. To give an example of how stories are used in communication, here is the field hockey coach, Shane McLeod.
I kind of like telling stories with the players, and partly because I think it covers off so many things. So it lets the players have a glimpse into who you are and what you believe in your little world. And maybe I'm a bit too sharing with that, but I think it's important. I think that's part of that vulnerability and that getting them to understand a little bit of what it brings to me to be involved with the group. And so I often will tell a story. The story is designed to connect them, to bring everyone to the same type of place.
The next area is repetition, which is particularly important when you are trying to communicate a new strategy or direction. It's also important when you are trying to keep people focused. To give an example of how repetition is used, here is the American football coach, Brian Bohannon.
You got to constantly communicate. I think this day and age, building relationships is probably, always has been, but more so now than ever. To build relationships with the staff, but more importantly with your players. And then the thing I've learned in my short time as a head coach, I've been doing this as a head coach for 10 years, but you never stop talking about the vision and how we get there. It's like you repeat. I feel like I'm repeating myself all the time. But at the end of the day, there's new people in the building, there's new kids coming in the program, and maybe they haven't heard it enough or the right way. And so I think that's something I've learned along the way. You just got to keep saying the same things over and over.
The last building block in content is tone. And this can be particularly important when you're communicating with people that don't share the same first language as you. It can also be important when you're communicating in times when there is a short period to communicate and get across all the information that needs to be shared. To give an example of how tone is used in communication, here is the volleyball coach, Alan Knight.
But what happens in a very high leveraged, emotional, important game where emotions are very, very high, it's a little bit different in those situations because the adrenaline's pumping and they may come across to each other sometimes. The tone might not be right, but the message is. And that's something we talk about all the time, is that we can get to the tone later. We can talk about it. That's one of those things that it's not that it doesn't matter that it came across wrong. or if you have a problem with that, you just can't have a problem right now and miss the message of what the teammate is saying. So we talk all the time about having thicker skin and hearing the message, but we also want to be aware of our tone, and we're working on our tone being good with one another, because we know over time that we can't just burn that bridge of just the way we talk to one another. But we're going to give each other a little bit of latitude at the heat of the battle, and we're going to try to hear the messaging and then keep working on the tone as it goes along.
The next key way that great coaches communicate with impact is by using style. The first building block of style is body language. And here is the basketball coach, Pokey Chapman, discussing ways that she uses body language.
I think the one that I would always keep at the top, because I think it's the one that needs to consistently grow and tweak and get better, is always work at being the most efficient and effective communicator with all aspects of your existence. That's from the sports performance staff to the people who are leading the fan. It's that tool of communicating with them more in every sense of the word. Yes, you have to talk. Yes, you listen, but it's your body language. It's the number of times. And it's the constant evolution of that I want to stay on top of, because it's always changing. It's not this cookie cutter process that works everywhere. And I really want to stay on top of that, because that in and of itself will be a conduit to me having meaningful, impactful relationships in everything that we do.
The next key area is theatre. Sometimes, if you want to communicate with impact, you have to be an actor. Here is the volleyball coach, Andre Anastasi, talking about this.
Because it's also how to use your body, how to use your hands, how to use your voice, the tones of your voice. You know, if you want to have attention, you can do like this. Hey guys, no, it's not like this. And sometimes, especially when you talk with all the team, you have to talk strong. Maybe, some not nice word, no? But the bad word sometimes is, hey, what's going on? The coach will say something. Yes, I want to say something. I want that you make like this. You understand? Sometime I said that when you are a coach, you learn to be an actor, no? You have to be actor. Also on the bench, during the match. A lot of people say, oh, you are acting. Sometime I active, sometime no. Sometime I am, I am in this really Italian, and I move my body, I move my hands. But the people know, sometimes maybe I'm not so nice, because I am close to the guys and I talk with the guys, and they feel the coach, and they know that I'm not happy anymore, for example. It's really important how you behave. You have to learn not only to be a leader, but to behave like a leader.
The last building block within style is silence. This can be a very powerful tool, as it creates space for others to step into, and in some instances, take the leadership in that particular moment. Silence is a strategic skill that coaches wield when necessary, but it's also something that is quite powerful. Here is the soccer coach, Alf Galitzian, talking about his learnings with silence.
Absolutely hugely influenced me. The culture influenced me. And so if I pick on that with communication, so let's say there's three types, right? One is verbal communication, and how the Japanese are so courteous and how they speak to each other, and that respect, but that communication can, that bonding that it can have. Also, as a teacher of football, I learned a long time ago, when I started coaching, I was useless, maybe still useless, but I was useless then, in that I used to talk too much, stop everything too early. And I learned that there's an art to teaching, and that speak at the right time, right place. And sometimes don't speak. And Japan taught me that silence is really valuable.
Final key area of communicating with impact is your response. And this for me is often the most challenging, because it requires you to do it in a way that doesn't cloud or confuse the message that you're looking to deliver. The first element to consider in the way that you respond is the degree of honesty that you want to use. Here is the Australian cricket coach, Justin Langer, talking about honesty and how he uses it.
Ultimately, what it comes down to is having honest conversations. I believe that honest conversations fix everything in the world, but it's bloody hard to have honest conversations because people don't like confrontation. People don't like often hearing the truth, but honest conversations can fix everything. But you've got to have the courage, one, to have them, but two, to develop a safe environment where you can have it. The world we live in, and we see it, you've got to be on this all the time. You've got to be having these conversations all the time to just make sure that you're all moving in the right direction together.
The second area within response is challenge. It builds on honesty. And it's important because when you challenge somebody as the leader, you do it to either gather more information yourself or perhaps more importantly, help the other person think more deeply. Here is the field hockey coach, Graham Reid, talking about the way he uses challenge.
That's something else that I think in this day and age, coaches really need to be able to have critical conversations with everybody, you know, through your coaching staff, through the players and everything else. Critical conversations, I think, are defined as being the ones that you disagree on. They mean a lot to both of you, you know, and they're critical in the future of what you're trying to achieve.
The final thing to consider within your response is the amount of compassion you choose to use. And in this video clip from the gold medal winning volleyball coach Hugh McCutcheon, he discusses how honesty and compassion do not necessarily need to be separate things.
The idea of truth combined with compassion or empathy, those aren't mutually exclusive events. So it's not truthful to be mean. It's how you frame it. Hey, we care about you, you're a good person and we like you a lot. However, you have this mechanical inefficiency. So therefore we'd like to fix that because like we talk about, the grass is green, the sky is blue. This is the deal, that's it. It's not personal, it just is. And we happen to live on planet Earth and the laws of physics apply, so these inefficiencies have a cumulative negative effect. But I could also be like, hey, make some comment about their person relative to this mechanical inefficiency and reduce it to somehow a personal deficiency, like somehow they're not enough because they have this inefficiency in place. So I could be mean about it, but that's not going to help anyone. It's not going to help them. It's certainly not going to help me. So yeah, I don't think operating truth and being hurtful or in any way malicious, not that I think that's where you're going with it, but I think a lot of people think that being truthful is a license to be mean. And what I think is it's just a license to be truthful. You're still going to be kind and compassionate. And with any message when we're communicating, the goal of communication is to make sure you're heard and understood. And if you personalize it, you're probably not going to get either of those.
So in summary, what I've learned from the great coaches about communicating with impact is that it's a product of your content, your style, and your response. I hope that this framework resonates with you and gives you a few ideas on how you can communicate with more impact to your team. If you like this video, then check out our webpage, thegreatcoachespodcast.com. There we have loads of material to help you improve your leadership style or the functioning of your team.